on Good Friday, I made my way from the noon service at St. Michael and All Angels and came here to wait for the 4 p.m. service for the Children's Way of the Cross. And while I was here, for a time I was alone, and I noticed a car coming and parked in the parking lot at the back, and a couple came out who I just didn't recognize. And they sort of, peeped in and tried the door. It didn't open, so I came to the kitchen door and beckoned them, and they came in. And I learned of a practice, a cultural tradition that I didn't know about before, which some of you may know about. Father Christopher said he was aware of it, that for some people, on Good Friday, the habit is to go and visit 7 churches. You go visit 7 churches. So this family, this couple, who lived in Suffolk, I guess over the years had done, all these visits to 7 churches, and now they were ready for Nassau County. So we were on their list for that day. And I know that as I walked through the building with them, I left them for a while in the chapel where, the altar of repose had been set up, and they just wanted a little time there to sort of pray. And we talked as we walked, came to the sanctuary here. I just kept thinking, what if the church door had been locked? Because most of the time when no one's here, when there's a service going on, when the office isn't open, we lock the church door. It is a wise thing to do in the time and place in which we live. I'm old enough to remember a time when church doors were open for most of the day, if not even through the night. It was a safe thing to do. That's not true for many, many places, in many, many places in our time. In our own homes, if you lived in places that were not so close to the city, perhaps you remember a time when you left the doors unlocked and went about your business, maybe put the key somewhere not too, not hidden so much, because you wanted people to come and find the key if they needed to come in. The door was more about keeping out the elements than about, keeping out those who would harm you. The house with the door, the church with the door, whatever the building was with the door, to be inside was about being in a safe place, a place where those whom you loved or wanted could be welcomed. It was more about setting boundaries rather than keeping out danger. But now we are behind locked doors, sometimes behind grilled doors, in gated communities, because safety is important. So when Jesus says, "I am the gate," perhaps our mind immediately goes to the idea of Jesus providing a safe place for those who are inside. And there is that peace in the message today. But let me just set this passage in context. About 4 weeks ago in Lent, we heard the story about the man who was born blind. Remember that story? Back and forth between the Pharisees and his parents. Who healed you? It was this man. He told me to put, whatever, go to the pool, wash it off. I was healed. Towards the end of the story, we learn that this man who Jesus healed, who was no longer blind, became a follower of Jesus, and as a result, the doors of the synagogue were closed to him. He is now on the outside, no longer welcomed in. Well, that was chapter 9 of John's Gospel. We are now at the beginning of chapter 10. This is Jesus' teaching on what had happened to that man who was now locked out. Jesus says, I am the gate. Imagine that. I am the gate for you and for all to come in and to go out. To come into a place where we can build relationships with him and with each other. To come into a place where we can rest and be nourished and be fed and be safe. To come in, whoever, because John's Gospel is where we find God so loved the world. Whoever wants to be part of that fold is welcomed in. But the door works both ways. Jesus says, for coming in and for going out, out to pasture, out to the world in which you work and play and live amongst your family, your co-workers, the strangers, where you can serve. I am letting you out because I go with you. You see, the shepherd and the gate are one and the same. In those days, in that place, a sheepfold would be made of rocks and branches with an opening, and the shepherd at night would lie across the opening and be the gate. So the shepherd and the gate are the same. These images are not conflicting. The shepherd, the good shepherd, is also the one who is guarding you and protecting you, and the one who leads you out into the world. Yesterday, one of our own was confirmed, Sarah Benedict. It was a time for her to say publicly, I once more want all of you to know that I am part of this sheepfold. I have come in, I am building relationship with Jesus in a safe place. But I'm also being sent out to pasture to experience that abundant life, that life where there is grace upon grace, where, as Psalm 23 says, your cup runneth over. Not just is filled up, but runneth over with God's grace in your life. But each and every day, we too must make that decision to come into the pasture, to be protected, to be in relationship with Jesus, and then to go out with the shepherd, to serve in the world, to be Jesus in the world. When I think of our church, I think of a group of people who try to live out that message of being gate and shepherd with Jesus, to open our doors and say to all, welcome, come into the fold, be protected, be in relationship with Jesus. You are loved, you are known by name in this place, and then to be nourished and filled and strengthened to go out into the world and serve. Our shepherd, our gate, our gatekeeper calls us to be with him in this world, in those roles, and may we too know how to share that message with those we meet. Amen.
Amen.